Coming up on the program today, it's all about powdery mildew, what to do with it, and how to control it. We're also talking vertical gardening, regardless if you have a lot of ground to grow in.
We're going to have John Jordan from Winchester Garden, Fertilizer, and Garden Supply Company talking about synthetic and organic fertilizer. All that more coming up today.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast is permeating into your ears with your host, Joey Bear.
And it could be the weeds. Some gardeners try to get all the weeds out of their garden. Other gardeners leave them in their garden. It's really a decision that you need to make. There's benefits to both sides of that. It's just something that you need to figure out what you want to do for your garden.
And Holly Bear.
Canning is a science. When you're canning, you want to make sure you follow the directions, follow the recipe, don't cut corners, don't replace things. It's crucial to you, your health, and your family.
They're professional gardeners with full-time jobs, and they're on the air now.
Welcome and greetings, fellow gardeners, urban gardeners, organic gardeners, synthetic gardeners, chemical gardeners, everyone in between. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast. This podcast is for the health-conscious organic gardener worldwide. I am your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
Behind the TWVG microphone here at the WI Garden Media Studios in Southeast Wisconsin. The information that you're going to hear is important and vital to the life of your garden. You just may have to tweak some of the dates and times that you applied for your particular growing zone. If you're tuning in, you probably know who we already are. But if you don't, or you're not quite sure, we'll briefly talk about who we are, and then we'll talk about that pesky problem we all will face called powdery mildew.
We are a husband and wife couple who create videos online. They're high-quality, high-definition videos about organic vegetable gardening, reusing items you already have, what to do with the food you grow. We also produce a quarterly digital magazine. This magazine is free. It's on our website at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, and it's high-quality, full-color, able for you to look at online, download, or print out.
We also do a variety of other things throughout the week. We do a number of video productions, as Holly spoke about. So we're glad you tuned in. We're glad you have downloaded, checked us out, took us on your daily journey so we can help inform you how to be better at growing some of what you eat. If you have any questions in regarding any of the topics we cover, or you have a topic or a problem in your particular growing area, your garden, you can always find a contact button on our website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. On the home page, it's a big red button that says question. Go ahead and hit that, fill that out. We'll get you an answer back, whether we know the answer or we have a resource that we can direct you to or information we can provide to help you with your particular problem in your growing zone, your garden, so you can get something out of what you're growing.
So we're going to talk about powdery mildew. This is a problem that many of us have faced. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but maybe eventually you will.
Or you have, and you just are not familiar with what you're looking at.
Now, conditions that favor powdery mildew include dry foliage, high humidity, low light, and moderate temperatures, especially if you're in a more humid climate. Now, one thing you can do is you can look for disease-resistant varieties. If you can't do that, then you want to make sure that you're not crowding your plants. A lot of times it is tempting to put your plants closer together to try to get maximum yield. If you keep them apart, you're going to allow them to have proper air circulation and also allow them to get all the nutrients and sunlight and everything that they need to grow.
Well, let's talk about what you're looking for to diagnose whether or not you have powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is a mildew or white fungus, white coating on the leaves of your plants. Most familiar or most plant would be your pumpkins, your cucumbers, your zucchini, your squashes. Your squash plants are most susceptible to this particular fungus.
And it's not white. It almost looks like somebody dripped a whitewash on your plants. It's not like bright white. It's like a
off-white, dingy,
milky white.
So there's some ways to maybe not so much maybe prevent it, but greatly reduce and help slow down what you've found. Now, there's a great resource online, and we're going to provide that link in the show notes for this episode, and it's from Growing Green World. Host Joe Lample and co-executive producer Joe Lample wrote a great article about powdery mildew and he's been on several of our productions, our audio and video productions, and he really gives a lot of information in regards to what you can do once you find it, what some remedies, home remedies that are very cost effective and sometimes, in most cases, free to help slow down and try to eliminate the powdery mildew issue.
So one option that's very organic is neem oil. Neem oil is a little bit more costly, but what you can do is you can go ahead and you just spray it on there. It's going to help prevent and hopefully stop it as well, the powdery mildew.
Now, let's bring up this point here. Is this the best thing to do before you have powdery mildew, or should we be proactive versus reactive with this? Should we go ahead and use some of these remedies on the plants that are already healthy to try to prevent powdery mildew from even forming on the plants?
I would wait until the problem happens.
Wait until the problem happens, but catch it very early.
Yes.
Because it will run across your plants very quickly.
Now, if you're having one plant that has it, only one plant, yank that plant out.
Sacrifice it.
Yeah, sacrifice it. Don't put it in your compost, but just get rid of it.
So you can, wait until you find the problem, or maybe if you want to be experimental and try to use some of these remedies prior to having the problem to try to prevent the problem even existing. That may be something you want to play around with as well.
So there is one thing here that says that this is the best known of the homemade organic solutions, and that's baking soda. You may know it as sodium bicarbonate. So what you do is, to make your own solution, you take 1 tablespoon of baking soda with a teaspoon of dormant oil. Not sure what dormant oil is, but that's okay. And 1 teaspoon of liquid soap, not detergent. So you could use like dish soap or Dr. Bronner's, one of those two, into a gallon of water, and you spray on the plants every 2 weeks. And that way it'll help prevent and I'm sure slow down as well. So
what's happening when your plants get this powdery mildew is this mildew is preventing the plant from photosynthesizing, preventing the plant from absorbing the amount of sunlight it needs or it requires to produce, to live, to survive. So it's smothering out the plant. So what we're trying to do with these products here is spray the plant, cover the plant to kill off that mildew on the plant so the sun can reach the leaves and photosynthesize and produce properly.
While Joey was explaining what's happening with your plants, I did a little bit of research. And dormant oil is any light cooking oil. So that could be something like a light olive oil, a canola oil, sunflower oil, vegetable oil, something light, not a dark oil, but a light oil.
Now, there's many different solutions or remedies that Joe has wrote in this article. We're going to touch on a few more because otherwise we could spend the whole show talking about this. But we want to highlight some of the ones that we feel are probably most beneficial to you, the listener.
So the one that worked for us, or at least slowed it down, was milk. And just regular milk. You want to use a higher fat content of milk. I believe that's right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to use a higher fat content of milk, probably because it helps stick to the leaves, that fat. But yeah, we tried that, and that seemed to slow it down for us.
It didn't eliminate it, but it allowed the plants to continue to grow until our spaghetti squash reached maturity and we were able to harvest it. So we have talked to different gardeners, just ordinary, everyday gardeners, just like you, that said, I've had powdery mildew, and it's not slowed the plants down one bit. They produced all summer long, and everything was great. And we've also talked to gardeners, just like you, who said, I've had powdery mildew, and within a week, the plant was dead. So it really, I guess, it's based on the variety, your growing conditions, where you live, right. So,
and also how much sunlight you're getting during the day. That can make a difference, too. If you're getting a lot of full sun, that's going to help those plants dry out.
Now, there's a number of ones here. Mouthwash is another use that we can use for trying to control powdery mildew.
And you don't want to use your, organic mouthwash. You want to use something that's got the ethanol, the alcohol in it.
The bad stuff.
Yeah. The stuff that'll burn if you leave it in your mouth for too long. That's what you want to put on your plants. So if you don't want to, if you want to use that, maybe you don't use it. You can. I found it at like the dollar store, so there's a cheap idea for you too. Vinegar, this makes sense. Any of these home remedies really make a lot of sense. But vinegar, that's another one because it's got that acid in it.
Now let's talk about.
But it can burn your plants.
Right. Let's talk about applying this. Mm-hmm. We use a hose or we use a pump sprayer. We do the correct applicational rates, and that can be whatever you find online. And we spray the top of the leaves, and we spray the bottom leaves, and how frequently, how often. It really depends on what ingredients you're using is based on the time of application, whether it's more frequently or more non-frequent.
Right, and this is a good guide, and we're going to provide this for you, this guide, so that you can go ahead and use it, because it's going to tell you how frequently to do it. And keep in mind that if you get a heavy rain, you're probably going to have to reapply it.
Right.
A light rain, most things you probably don't have to, but a heavy rain, definitely.
So this is just some of the many...
Maybe we should figure out here. Okay, so milk, it doesn't really say why milk does. I guess it has naturally occurring compounds in it that combat the disease and boost the plant's immune system. So, and that says weekly. So it's 1 part milk to 2 parts water. So if you're doing 1 cup of milk to 2 cups of water. Right.
So that's just one of the many remedies that you can use for powdery mildew, and this can again just eradicate your plants if you're trying to get a pumpkin or trying to get a watermelon or cucumbers. We had problems with cucumbers last year as well. So powdery mildew, just like many of the issues that you face in your garden, you need to know what you're looking at to understand how to diagnose it. So once you figured out what it is, then you can go through and find these remedies, these recipes on how to help either control or eradicate that particular issue from your garden. Stay with us. Right after this, we're going to talk all about growing up.
Oh yeah, what you say? You say Nasala Kombucha. It'll put some glide in your stride and some pep in your step. Nasala Kombucha. Yeah.
Nasala Kombucha makes your body happy. Nasala Kombucha makes your body smile.
If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your bare, untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatings.com.
Do you want your next raised beds to be easy, functional, and beautiful? The Embrace helps you create the garden you've always wanted. Finally, raised beds that everyone can assemble and enjoy. No tools needed. Just slide any lumber into the Embrace corner, fill with your favorite soil mix, and you're ready to plant. Made from 100% recycled steel right here in the USA. And a portion of every sale helps to build school and community gardens all across the country. Let the Embrace help you create your next raised bed. Grow beautifully with the Embrace. Available at local garden centers and online at artofthegarden.net.
Hey everybody, this is Jared from permasapian.com, and I am all about employing permaculture wisely. Right now, you are listening to Joey and Holly Baird on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener podcast.
Greetings, welcome back to the program, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, your location for all things organic. From digital magazines to weekly videos. If you want to know more about the sponsors you've just heard in our entire sponsor lineup, we encourage you to check them out at the website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. They're also in the show notes below. Check them out. Support them because they support us in the same gardening beliefs. Well, it's time to grow up in the garden, Holly.
Grow up in the garden. So one thing you can do, we're not talking about getting older or getting more mature or wiser. That's all on you. We're talking about getting your plants off the ground. And this benefits your plants for many reasons. One is if you're limited on space, if you take some of those vine plants and get them to grow up, you can increase your space.
Yeah, some people grow in the square foot method, and some people grow in the square inch method based on how much viable growing space you have.
And some plants prefer to grow this way. They're vining plants for a reason. They want to vine. So if you can, things like cucumbers, beans,
Pole beans,
not bush beans, pole beans, and even small squash like acorn or.
Well, even peas. Peas have the little, what do you call them, follicles?
Yeah.
They want to grow up. They do very, very poorly if you don't allow them to have something to support on. They'll grow to a certain point, they'll fall over and they'll snap, and they'll snap their stem, and they won't produce. They'll die. So there's some very important plants you want to utilize the vertical aspect on, and then there's some that may be more unfamiliar but can greatly benefit you in the garden, whether you have a lot of space or not.
So you got to think about what you're going to grow up on. So that could include anything from, if you take a tomato cage and wrap some string around it and stack them up a couple times, to just some posts with some strings. Joey did this thing last year with some strings coming down from a post. Why don't you talk about that?
Which one? Which trellis is that?
The pole bean.
The pole beans. So we mounted fence posts, or you can use any type of post, on each end of the grow bed that we were growing in. And we ran a very heavy nylon rope from one end to the other and stretched it pretty taut. And then we took baling twine, that's what the big ag industry uses. We bought a 20,000 foot roll, which was like $29. It's orange, but it's very economical. It's not biodegradable. But we made a triangle, basically. We wrapped the string from one side to the other and have growing strings on both sides. And then we took logs or boards and tied the strings to the boards and laid the boards on the ground. So this all is very mobile if need be, but you have a vertical string on the right-hand side wrapped around the nylon rope across the top, and then it runs down the left-hand side, and both bottom pieces are tied to boards, and then we plant the beans next to the string, next to the board. It's on the ground, and they grow vertical, and it works very well. And we can also utilize the inner portions of the trellis, which is about a foot of grow space, early in the season before the beans get planted, so we can utilize every aspect of it.
So that's one idea. Another idea is, say you have an old baby crib, whether it be, from your kids, or you find one on the side of the road.
Now we're talking side panels or the mattress frame.
Not the mattress. The little springy thing on the bottom. So you can use that. You put it on the side. You use some fence posts or support posts, and you put it on its side, and that's a great trellis as well.
So, you don't have to go buy a trellis. I mean, I don't know. We've never ever priced a trellis, but I can't imagine it's any cheaper than $20 to $30. So you can... Trellising can be as simple as we talked about in the last episode, of making a floor to weave, essentially, taking fence posts and on each side of your grow area, whatever you might be growing, and simply taking string and running back and forth so it kind of looks like a fence and allowing items to grow up it. Now, let's talk about the type of items. Let's talk about cucumbers, for instance. Cucumbers are going to need ropes or bars or metal, whatever they're grasping onto, every 4 to 6 inches. You can't have a 1.5 foot gap and expect the cucumber to all of a sudden jump up there with their little tentacles and tie themselves on. They need a ladder system to get up the trellis. And this is really for any type of trellising, any type of vegetable. Now, obviously, the smaller items are going to be easier to trellis than, let's say, a pumpkin or a watermelon or a cantaloupe. This all can be done. The problem with pumpkins and watermelons and butternut squashes and all that is the vine gets very heavy. So you may have to assist the vine by tying it onto the trellis. And especially when the fruit begins to develop, you're going to have to take some kind of netting and put underneath that fruit and tie that netting to the trellis to allow the net to support the fruit. Otherwise, it's going to rip it right off the trellis and snap the vine.
Right. So that's what you want to do. Also, you can help the plants. You know, you see them coming out of the ground, start getting them. You know, put them. If you see that they're near the bottom of the trellis, set them on the trellis so that they can get used to growing up it. That way, you can help your plants. Another thing that you can do to help your plants is make sure that when you plant them, you space them apart properly. If you crowd your plants, you're going to crowd your trellis, and you're not going to allow proper pollination. You're not going to allow for proper spacing and sunlight and water and nutrients and all that for your
air
plants.
circulation. You're going to have leaves on top of leaves on top of leaves, and for one, they're not going to get the proper amount of sunlight, and two, when they get moist, they're not going to be able to dry out in the adequate amount of time, and there lies the possibility of what we talked about in segment 1 of the program. One issue, powdery mildew forming because the leaves are not being able to dry out because you've got so much piled on that trellis because you're trying to maximize the space, when in the end result it actually hurts you instead of helps you by not allowing you to produce more, but actually it causes you to produce less.
Right. That's very true. So we have that. You want to make sure you're placing your plants, space them apart nicely. And then also you want to just make sure that you're using a good variety for your area, and that you're making sure that you are giving them proper water. Consistent watering in vine crops, or any crop really, but vine crops definitely, because a lot of those things, the squashes and the cucumbers and the beans, they rely on consistent watering. You can tell if you're not having consistent watering because you'll have these cucumbers that look like hourglasses, or big bulb on one end or small on the other, and you'll know.
And that could be a lack of pollination as well as a lack of correct regular watering. Now, some of the trellises, we've talked about a number here. If you've never trellised before, easiest thing for peas would be a tomato cage. Put a tomato cage, plant your peas around it, let them grow up it. Now, cucumbers, that will work as well. There's a number of different size tomato cages that will work very well. You can jam a tomato cage in the ground, and you can grow peas up it. Mm-hmm. Or not peas, green beans. You can utilize a fence, assuming that you own both sides, or you're in an area where you can utilize both sides of the fence, assuming that your neighbor is not going to be hacked off at you and notice that you're growing something up what he thinks or she thinks is her side of the fence.
So talk to your neighbors if you're going to do that. If you don't have any neighbors, then that's fine. If you have extra fencing, we've also seen that netting you can buy. It's like a white nylon netting that you can buy at the Home and Garden Center. We feel they kind of tangle up easily, but if you've got a lot of patience, then go for it.
As some people say, it's the greatest thing. Other people say it didn't last one season, so it's personal preference, obviously. But you want to first look around your garage, your basement, your attic, your shed to find out think outside of the box. Absolutely think completely crazy, and anything that could be jammed in the ground that something could climb up it is your initial look at it. Can we use that item for a trellis?
There's also the TP trellis.
Right. We have taken logs that have been trimmed, or not logs, but very 2.5, 3 inch limbs, and made them into a 3-legged teepee with a cross in the top, and we put a bolt through the center and ran rope around it, and we're thinking about trying to utilizing at least one of them this year in the garden. We're not really sure because we're very close to being out of space this early in the season. It's a beautiful item to use.
If you like if you don't want to have a big white netting or orange baler twine or whatever you
natural
looking. It looks very nice, very natural looking.
Now, one thing you could use and that you may have very many of is bicycle rims. You put a 2x4 in the ground, put it in the ground about a foot and a half, and then you nail bicycle tires without the rubber, just the rims and the spokes up the 2x4, and then you can allow things to crawl up it and grow up it, and you've got yourself a trellis that was made out of stuff that probably was going to get thrown away.
Right. So you can kind of think about where you live. If you have neighbors that might be a little picky, then maybe you want to go for something that's more natural looking.
But they won't be picky when they don't, if something happens and they need something to eat, and you've got a whole basement full of canned goods. But that's another topic for another day.
Anyway, so you might want to think about that. If you live in an area where you get huge gusts of wind, you want to make sure that you're not using something that's going to get knocked over or blown away, something that's nice and sturdy.
So just some of the things to think about. If you have in the past grown with a trellis that you think is a very unique and innovative way to grow vertical, and you have a picture of it, we'd sure like to see that. You can email that image to us. You just go through the website and send us an email. We would love to see it. We'd love to share it to allow more people to have the outside box thinking of what to grow. Stay tuned. Right after this, Winchester Gardens. We're talking fertilizer, we're talking synthetics, we're talking about keeping the environment healthy. Right back after this.
Paradigm Gardens, Wisconsin's largest progressive gardening center. Located in Madison, Wisconsin, Paradigm Gardens offers the largest selections of soil amendments, organic and salt-based plant nutrients, grow lights, and hydroponic systems available in the Midwest. Our knowledgeable and experienced sales staff are always available to help. Visit our new website, www.paradigmgardens.com, or visit our retail store at 4501 Helgeson Drive, Madison, Wisconsin, just off Stoughton Road.
Looking for a fast-acting, non-toxic weed killer for your organic garden? One that works in cool and cloudy conditions as low as 40 degrees and is highly biodegradable with visible results in less than 2 hours? Then look no more. Avenger Weed Killer has it all and more. Made from oranges, Avenger is highly effective, easy to use, and has a pleasant citrus aroma. It is OMRI listed and approved for organic gardeners under the USDA's National Organic Program. Avenger Weed Killer is a choice for organic gardeners and homeowners who are looking for an effective, safe way to control unwanted weeds. Available in ready-to-use sprays and concentrate. Ask your local lawn and garden supplier for Avenger Weed Killer. For more information and a list of suppliers, visit AvengerOrganics.com. Avenger Weed Killer, eco-friendly, deadly to weeds.
It's all about the soil at ManureT.com. With their grass-fed, antibiotic, and growth hormone-free cattle and horses, owner Annie Haven puts the quality in her premium soil conditioner. 100% organic and natural, whether feeding your flowers or veggies, indoors or out, you can grow organically with confidence. To purchase authentic Haven brand Manure Tea, small orders or large, go to ManureT.com. Always free shipping.
This is Jeff Radke from the Lost Skills Podcast. You can listen to me at lostskillspodcast.com. Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast with Holly and Joey Baird.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. If you want to know more about the sponsors you've just heard and our entire sponsor lineup, you can check them out at our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. Support them because they support us.
At the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast, we have a chance to talk to many great guests. We are going to go to Ohio, where we talk with John Jordan, the Product Marketing Manager for Winchester Gardens. Winchester Gardens has a lot of great organic fertilizers and many gardening supplies for you, the home gardener.
Welcome, John.
Hi, Joey. Hi, Holly. Thank you for having me on.
So explain to us the difference of when a person goes to purchase fertilizer and they see all these on the shelf. What is the key difference between organic versus an inorganic or synthetic fertilizer in the mindset of a typical average backyard gardener?
One, I believe, is lifestyle. Two, environmental impact. Three, in results. But really, an organic is a animal plant-based fertilizer, and an inorganic is one that has been processed to some degree, like there's been heat or there's been a chemical added to it, or there's been another different process available. But really, the other aspect of it is, are you concerned about what you're doing to the environment? Are you concerned about the results that you're getting? Each one of these makes a big factor and a big difference in what you purchase. And really, you ultimately just need to feel good about what you're buying. Some people are interested in the organic products, and some people are interested in the non-organic products. It really comes down to what you feel is going to be the best thing for yourself.
I understand. And we've made mention to it on the program before. Winchester Gardens is a family-owned business, and you guys wouldn't put anything in your garden or sell anything to your customers that you would not use in your own garden to grow your own vegetables, and that really means a lot to us.
Yeah, I use our own products, and I love our products. The all-purpose, the vegetable fertilizer, the Select Organics, the Select Organics all-purpose, the Select Organics vegetable, I use personally in my raised beds. For my indoor plants, I use the professional all-purpose, which is considered the non-organic. Really, it's based on what my needs are and what really the gardener's needs are. They may use one or the other for different applications, and really it's kind of up to the individual.
Winchester Gardens didn't always have organic. Where did the need come from, and when was this decision made to start the line of organic fertilizers?
We go to a lot of trade shows, and really basically we started listening to our customers. They are the ones that asked us about, okay, why do you not carry organic products? And we were in a situation, or we're in a place where we could offer it, and we started developing products that we were trying to fill niche markets with, and it's been very successful since then.
So we encourage people to, if they have poor soil, or even if they have average soil, to incorporate fertilizer in their gardens, their raised beds, even their containers. But we all have to follow the directions on the back of the bag. That's why they're there. With that being said, too much fertilizer can result can result poorly, as just as if you don't use enough, or if you would use a non-organic product.
That is correct. You can hurt the plant. You can cause root burn, and nobody wants that.
If you add too much, you can also dehydrate the plant from the roots, from the inside out, basically.
True. Yes.
So let's talk about the numbers on the front of these fertilizer bags. We see it in every industry. There's 3 numbers. So explain more about these numbers here. Why is it better to have a vegetable fertilizer like Winchester Garden has with a 466 versus going to the local big box store and purchasing a 10-10-10 or a 20-20-20 fertilizer for your garden?
Well, I believe it's a slower release of fertilizer for your plants. Not only is it good for the plant, it's good for the soil. One thing, basically the numbers, it's an NPK, which the first number is a nitrogen, the second number is a phosphorus, and the last number is a potassium. The first number is a nitrogen growth, so you'll get elongation with that first number. And so it's a lower number, so that way, in vegetable gardening, you don't want a lot of elongation in your plants because you're trying to grow, vegetables. So one other way to help that vegetable to grow is the phosphorus and the potassium, and that allows a larger growth in the fruit, as well as helping the sugars of it, which would be the potassium side. Also, the phosphorus side will allow the roots to have a larger impact in the growth of the plant as well. But your 10-10-10, your 20-20-20 is really just a general all-purpose. There may be a lot of available fertilizer that is not needed for the plant, whereas the lower NPK number will allow to be less impactful into the environment.
Now, we like to use the organic blood meal, bone meal. Organic blood meal has a nitrogen of 1200. The bone meal has, I think it's a 690 in it, which is really good for that root development of that bone meal. And that nitrogen, if you need a boost, that blood meal really is a good organic source.
Yes, it's a great organic source. I highly recommend the blood meal and the bone meal. They're premium ingredients and premium products.
Winchester Garden has a great line of Select Organic fertilizer. What do you have for the home gardener? Things like just in general, and then the spikes.
The garden spikes, and then you have the herb pellets. That works very well in containers also.
The Select Organics is a great line of products. We have an herb fertilizer to use just for your herbs, just to help them give them some impact and some growth. We obviously have the blood and the bone meal. We do have an all-purpose as an added calcium, so that if you want to use it for your tomatoes, you won't have blossom end rot. We also have a berry fertilizer, which you also can purchase on GardenerSupply.com. It's one of the more popular items that we have, as well as we have an Select Organics potato fertilizer, which is starting to do very well for us as well. One thing that's interesting about our organic spikes is that we do have a proprietary ingredient that actually helps microorganisms grow, or it feeds them even better, so that way they can process the organic material even faster, so that way the ingredients are available to the plants. And that ingredient is in the herb tablets. It's also in the organic vegetable fertilizer spikes, as well as the organic berry fertilizer spikes.
And we're really excited to use the potato fertilizer this year because it has that boost of phosphate in it to get those good tubers to really start developing.
So you have more than just fertilizer. One thing you have is row markers, and these are great to mark your crops, but also great learning tool for young ones. Why are they different than any other row markers that you can buy?
We were really excited about these when we developed them. Not only are they colorful and very whimsical in their illustrations, they're a corn-based material, so the microbes will break them down over time. Even though it's rigid, almost kind of like a plastic, they will break down within a couple years, or possibly even maybe like 5 years, depending on like how much microbes are in the ground at the time. There's also, what is pretty cool about it too is that there's a ruler on the back, so that way you can document the growth of your plant. You also can write the variety, you can write the name, the category, and you also can date how many inches it's grown within, each week. And also one little added feature, which I don't know if you've noticed on those, is that there's recipes in really small type on the front. So if, let's say, you're growing tomatoes and, maybe you're looking at the marker and you're inspired by like a tomato soup or, a pasta sauce of some sort, maybe there's an interesting one that's on there that you take a look at and you're like, wow, maybe I could try that. But yeah, they're really cool. They're great to have, and they serve multiple purposes.
Now, a lot of people who purchase fertilizer and will go to wgardens.com at Winchester there to buy their Select Organic fertilizer. If a customer keeps the materials dry and in a cool, dark place, how long of a shelf life is there for that material if it's not being used? If it's in storage, or is there a shelf life? Is it indefinite?
It should last quite a while. It definitely, if there's no moisture and it's dry, you should have definitely a couple of years of shelf life. But I recommend using it, the first couple of years. But yeah, it should be fine.
And one thing that I like about Winchester Gardens fertilizer is you've got the bag, and then inside of it is an inner bag. And then you do provide a measuring scoop for proper applicational rates in your garden, which is always nice to have all the tools you need when you're going to go do a job.
Well, thank you for being a guest today.
And you can find all their fertilizer and other accessories at wgardens.com. Thank you very much, John, for being on the program.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
And we'll be back right after this. Kapow is an American company that grew out of the need to develop an everyday product that would help us decrease our eco footprint. Utilizing the mason jar as its foundation, Kapow has created accessories turning your mason jar into a multi-use device, drinking lids and lunchbox adapters, plus so much more. Made entirely in the USA from carefully selected food-safe plastic that is just the right thickness for both durability and ease of use. For hot and cold beverages, certified safe for all ages and dishwasher safe too. Get your Kapow accessories. Visit Kapow.com.
A gardener knows that the key to a good plant is its roots. With poor roots, the end result is not good. Conventional pots and trays cause roots to wrap around and become root-bound. Then you try to unwrap the roots at the time of planting, hoping not to break them. But never again with the Root Maker, a non-chemical innovation that naturally air prunes roots to create more vigorous roots. Never a root-bound plant again. Whether trees, flowers, or edibles, home gardener or commercial grower, more roots means healthier, more productive plants. To get your own, visit rootmaker.com.
Hi, this is Nikki Jabor, author of The Year-Round Vegetable Gardener and Groundbreaking Food Gardens, which you can find at nikkijabor.com. And you're listening to Joey and Holly Baird on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener podcast.
Welcome back to the program. We're not done yet. We got 2 vital pieces of information to share with you.
If you want to know more about the sponsors you've just heard in our entire sponsor lineup, you can find them at our website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. You click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. Support them because they support us in the same gardening beliefs. Those links are also in the show notes. We've got Gardening in 2 Minutes coming up, and then we're going to talk about perennials in the garden because now's the time of year to decide what you want for long-term, low-maintenance gardening. Gardening in 2 Minutes is an audio production that Holly and I produce on a weekly basis for a number of podcasts and a few radio programs. If you would like Gardening in 2 Minutes on your particular program, contact us through the website. This Gardening in 2 Minutes is all about intercropping. This Gardening in 2 Minutes is also sponsored by OurDailySalt.com. Chef Felicia Wild's handcrafted kitchen accessories and tools. She knows what you need in your kitchen to stand the test of time. To check out all the handcrafted kitchen accessories and tools, visit OurDailySalt.com with their new website. Free shipping, United States and international. And here is Gardening in 2 Minutes. This is Gardening in 2 Minutes. When it comes to urban gardening, every inch is valuable. There's several different methods that you can take and utilize every square feet that you have available to grow in.
One of them is trellising.
That's right. And another one is intercropping. Intercropping is the practice of planting crops, 2 of them, in the same spot. We'll explain.
So if you have something like potatoes that you mound up or you plant in rows, it's going to be a little while in the beginning of the summer before your potatoes start to sprout. So you can take something like radishes, which only take about a month, and put them in between the rows of the potatoes.
Another option could be if you're growing Brussels sprouts, which takes a great amount of time. In the center between the rows, you could plant something like spinach, which takes about 45 to 50 days. The key to any one of these examples is you want to plant a fast-growing crop in with that main slow-growing crop. Another one can be...
You can plant something like corn within your lettuce bed. Lettuce is a cool weather crop, and corn takes a long time to grow. So once you're getting close to your lettuce being done, you can plant your corn, and that way you can share the space.
Yes, you want that corn to be grown in a block area, but that would be very, very productive. Another one would be if you have a tall trellis that is in the shape of a triangle where it points to the top, and you have plants growing on either side, and you have a dead space in the center.
Then you can put something like broccoli, cauliflower, or you could even do an herb bed in there as well.
Herbs would be beneficial because they take less amount of sunlight. Another thing you might want to consider is the possibility of growing lettuce in the early portion of the season in where you're going to put your tomato plants. For the same reason, the lettuce will be done about the time that tomatoes will start going in the ground.
Another good idea is doing something like the Three Sisters method, which is kind of like an intercropping of a classic variety, a traditional variety.
For more information on intercropping, our weekly video productions, as well as our free downloadable quarterly magazines, you can find all that information at
thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.
For Gardening in 2 Minutes, I'm Joy Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
Intercropping, great way to, again, utilize the space in the space that you have. Hey, let's talk about perennials before we get out of here on the program today. Now is the time that we need to start thinking about, or at least the stores want us to think about, purchasing these perennials. First, for any of the new gardeners who are listening, or those who may be questioning what perennials are, what is a perennial?
A perennial is a plant that comes back year after year.
No maintenance.
No maintenance. So
or low maintenance.
Are you a lazy gardener? It's okay if you're a lazy gardener. You can plant perennials. Or if you say you're like I bought this home. I'm going to live here for the rest of my life or until the foreseeable future. I want to do some permaculture where I'm going to have some great stuff that's going to come back year after year. You should look into perennials. And there's many different varieties, and there's stuff like anything from
flowers,
like pretty flowers, all the way to trees. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these are, first of all, an investment. Second of all, a time investment. And third of all, you may require some pruning or some care.
So most of the perennials that you'll get edible varieties of perennials that you may purchase to put it on your property will take a number of years before you will be able to get something edible off of them. Strawberries, for instance, if you buy strawberries now in the spring of the year, plant them, you're not going to get, it's recommended that you let them grow basically, you're going to get some off this year. You're going to have some berries. It's recommended to not deal with those, not harvest them. As soon as you've seen the flowers, pull the flowers off to allow the roots to begin to mature in the ground. And then next spring, you will have berries. Most berry patches, strawberry patches, will last 3 to 5, maybe 6 years. You can also take runners from those strawberry plants if you have friends, and we'll maybe talk about that on a future episode, where you can harvest the runners in the fall, plant them in the fall, and then get actual strawberries in the spring. But asparagus is another one where it's going to take 3-4 years before you get anything. Mm-hmm. You're going to see some growth off them, but you don't want to harvest them because you're going to stress the plant out. Rhubarb is another one that's going to take 3 years before, 2 to 3 years before you get anything. 1 to 2 years on horseradish. Berry bushes, you're looking a couple of years on berry bushes. And trees, you're looking 5 to 10 years. Well, 3 to 5 to 5 to 10 based on the type of bush you have or tree you have before you see any foreseeable lots of fruit and vegetable.
Now, this doesn't mean that if you rent or have a condo that you can't do this. You know, we have a dwarf lime tree in our kitchen.
Took 2.5 years before it put limes on it, mm-hmm. But it's an investment and it's well worth it. And we've done nothing but just keep it watered. Now we'll repot it every 2 or 3 years. But it's low maintenance.
Oh yeah, it's and the nice thing about it is that you just keep it in the full sun, and I think we got it like on some plant sale, so it wasn't much of an investment for us at all. So if you can find sales on these things, that's even better. But definitely do your research. You know, you may want an avocado tree, but if you don't live in an avocado growing condition like California or Mexico or Texas or wherever, you're not going to probably be able to have an avocado tree. I don't know if you can even have one indoors. So you want to make sure that you're not trying to,
go beyond your limits.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you could grow, and it will come back, and you'll be able to use it relatively soon, mint and rosemary. There are some herbs that are perennials based on how cold your area gets. If you're in a more mild climate, a lot of the herbs will come back year after year. One thing you want, rosemary, I've seen bushes where it looks like a shrub. It's gotten so big. Mint, you want to really control where you're going to put that because it will spread very rapidly and overtake an area. So you might want to do that in an in-ground container. Another perennial that we have grown for, 3 years now, maybe 3.5, Jerusalem artichoke.
Oh, yeah.
Instantly will have, after you plant it, full sun, 150 days, you're going to have tubers, and you're going to have a lot of them, and they're going to come back year after year after year with no maintenance whatsoever.
Right. So that's always an option, too, is something like Jerusalem artichokes. Another perennial vegetable, as Joy had mentioned, is asparagus. So it doesn't have to be just fruits or trees or anything like that. Grapes are a good option as well. So there's a number of different ones. Now, again, it depends on your climate. I know where we live close to Lake Michigan, and there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's some wineries, and there's one actually just being built in the town kind of north of us because the conditions favor kind of Mediterranean conditions.
So now's the time to kind of look at your property and find and analyze whether or not you may want to invest in perennials or some perennials. Even Jerusalem artichokes is a very simple one that's going to be a staple in your garden for years to come.
Now, say that you recently moved to your area. You've never lived there before, or whatever, or maybe you've lived in the area, but it's a different side of town. You could contact your local UW extension, or your local university extension, because they can definitely give you tips and things like this.
Well, we thank you for tuning in today. We thank you for taking time out of your busy day, taking us along, downloading us. We encourage you to share us with your friends who are gardeners or prospective gardeners. We are always willing to help. We've got many videos. We've got over 500 plus videos on the YouTube channel and the website, and articles and magazines and anything that possibly could help you. We've probably got something near that area. So until next time, we want to make mention that the audio that you've heard on the program is courtesy of sfx.co.uk. It's a royalty-free, copyright-free website. We use the audio to help liven up the podcast.
And Nest Ala commercial and Paradigm Garden commercial, that audio is provided from them exclusively.
So until next time, I'm Joy Baird.
I'm Holly Baird.
And we will see you in the garden. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast is a production of the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com for the health-conscious organic gardener worldwide, and distributed in association with WI Garden Media.